All right. Hey y'all, welcome back to my little corner of the world. I am back outside here in Casey's corner. This is the next day from my previous videos I filmed post holiday. It is nice and quiet. I've got a bit of a breeze. I hope that's not going to be too bad for the sound, but you know, it's ambiance. So why I'm here real quick, I just wanted to kind of go over my manifesto of what this historical witch project is going to be, and as promised in the title, reveal what I learned about reenactment from VH1's Rock of Love. God, I hope that's the name of the show. Alright, I'm going to be double checking that. But anyways, we'll talk about that later. So, real quick. What do I want to do with my historical witch project? I have written it down because it's just that important to me. And I tend to get tongue-tied if I don't write and sort out my thoughts. Like, I've mentioned before, my thoughts tend to rush, and so it helps if I write it out. Anyways, let's do this. So my goal, what I want to do with this project, is to bring to life, through historically researched cosplay and reenactment, the marginalized women who were labeled deviant and witches, and as such have been dehumanized for much of the modern era. Until recently, these women were mostly spoken of as fantasy or as villains. Much of our history has been written through the patriarchal, Abrahamic, Western perspectives. Today, we have begun to change that perspective by re-examining the historical evidence and oral traditions of wise women, and wise and healing women of all kinds across humanity's past. By sharing my journey to learn about them, I hope to show that these women were not too different from the rest of humanity. They were and are just as real as anybody else. Why? Okay, this is where it's starting to get personal. Growing up, I was marginalized and at times persecuted by the dominant culture of the era. I was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s. It was the tail end of the Satanic Panic and the AIDS crisis, to give you just a little perspective of the dominant culture of the time. Over the years, people fought for their right to exist, and as they shared their own stories to help bring about the changes Over the years, people have fought for their right to exist, and they shared their own stories to help bring about the changes I have seen in my lifetime. Humanizing the dehumanized can and has changed the world. Through this project, I hope to be a small part of that continued effort as I share my modern witch's perspective of the women I research. And that was one thing that is over the past 19 years since I became a teen mom and kind of ducked off the radar of the rest of the world and kind of was focused on that very much so, and on my internal household and stuff. I've been really focused on my research and library, stuff like that. I haven't had a lot of communication with the real world. Hi guys, out there in the real world. Gosh, that was a whisper. I hope y'all heard it. I said hi guys out there in the real world. Anyways, one thing I've noticed through a lot of my research and a lot of my reading over the years is if it hasn't been written by a modern witch, often the perspective is dismissive and very dismissive, yeah, and writing as like, mysterious, and saying things like, oh, they had this plant that was so, who knows why, and like, that plant's a diuretic. That's actually a very sensible thing to have. Stuff like that. I hope to kind of share my own perspective about that stuff. And I'll probably talk more about what it was like for me growing up in another video, because that's probably going to be a little heavy. Yeah, definitely, probably, yeah. So we'll do that in another video. This one I just wanted to real quick lay this out, and I think that's going to be it, because I'm starting to lose my train of thought. That's all I wrote down, and thinking I was going to chat more and not be as distracted. But yeah, you know me, that happens. Oh, focus. Yes, that's what I was going to do. So what does all that have to do with VH1's Rock of Love? So if you remember way back in the early aughts, that's what we're calling it now, right? The aughts. Okay. The early 2000s, I was a young teen mom, and there was a reality show. I'm pretty sure it was called Rock of Love, but it was with Bret Hart, some rock dude, and a bunch of fangirl chicks that wanted to, and it was like, you know, bachelor style type stuff. There was a, you know, I was a young teen mom, and I did not know that much about being an adult woman, I suppose, particularly fashion-wise. And I didn't know how to do my hair. And so I would watch this show purely to examine and research their hair. Literally, I wanted to know how to do this little thing to your hair. Hold on, let me see if I can look my camera up. My little, yeah, that thing to your hair where you pull. Yeah, I wanted to know how to do that, and I did not know how to do that. So I would watch that show whenever it would come on, just to see their hair, the women's hair, and ooh, that's a needle I just poked, and see how they did it, and recreate that myself. And what I learned doing that was, one, you can learn a lot visually looking at something and testing it out yourself to see how that's done. Through a lot of trial and error, I figured it out, and I still do that, and I'm pretty sure that dates myself or ages myself, whatever. I don't care. I love it, and it always reminds me of the months-long effort it took to figure out how to do this. And I like how it looks. It's, you know, and it also, you know, it also showed me, you know, how human these girls were. Women, really, actually, duh. You know, because I always would think about them doing their hair. I guess I can lean back now a little bit. Anyways, I would always think about them, you know, doing the same thing, learning to do their hair and learning all the, you know, and acknowledging that, you know, nobody is just magically poof born knowing how to do any of that stuff. Somebody taught them. They learned how to do it, either, you know, through trial and error, same as I, or because somebody taught them. And that is a lesson that I have carried with me through life and on into my historical research and reenactment stuff. Because I tend to do that. I see something, I don't quite understand how it works. I try it. I do it. I fiddle with it and figure it out until I'm like, oh, that's why. That's how they did it. You know, and it makes me so happy when I get to that point. It's like a eureka moment. And so, yeah, that's it. That's how VH1 taught me how to do historical reenactment. And my manifesto for historical witches. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey. If you want to see more about this stuff, do the thingy, the like, the share, the subscribe. Thanks for joining me on this journey. I'm pretty new to all this stuff. Like I said, I haven't really been that active in this kind of thing since Napster. Yeah, that was the thing I loved. And dark chat, nobody ever knows what I'm talking about when I bring that up. Anyways, okay, thanks so much for joining me. Do the things, and tell me what historical witches you want to learn about. I've got a list. That was something else I was going to do real quick. So Real quick at the end, my list so far is Alice Kittler, the first convicted Irish witch. I did a quick one of her. I want to do a more historically accurate one of her. I'm also doing, as you've seen over with my Texas Viking, I am doing Viking era witches. Also, just as part of my own personal research, I've always been looking into Celtic age witches. So yeah, that's what I've got so far. Tell me what you want to know about. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. All right, y'all have a great one. Bye.